I usually put Spielberg movies into one of two categories: his blockbuster fun movies that are there to entertain, and his Oscar movies that are more focused on drama, character, and dialogue. And yes, I know plenty of his blockbusters have been nominated and won Oscars, I'm just making a metaphor. Both of these types of movies can work, you just have to know which one you're in for. And while I personally prefer his fun blockbusters, I do love some of his more serious movies, and The Color Purple is one of them. In 1909, southern United States, a young woman named Celie Harris, played by Whoopi Goldberg, lives a poor life being abused by her father, who she has 2 kids from, and being forced to marry a man named Albert Johnson, played by Danny Glover, who essentially treats her like a slave. The only happiness Cecile seems to get is when her sister Nettie, played by Akusia Buzia, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, comes to live with her. After Nettie refuses Albert's wishes for sex, she is kicked out, and the rest of the movie is Celie's life as she hopes to one day be reunited with her sister. This movie is long, and it can be very, very depressing at points. With all that said, I still really like it. The pacing is perfect, with enough moments of comedy sprinkled in there, especially with Oprah Winfrey's character Sophia. I really like her. Well, at least in the first half. Second half, something happens that's a bit depressing, but the acting and direction are pretty much as great as you expect. Whoopi Goldberg does a great job. I didn't see this till years after I had come to know her as a comedian, but she really sold me on this. Originally, Spielberg wanted the movie to be in black and white, but eventually decided on color, which makes sense since it's called The Color Purple, and purple plays a pretty big part in it, and it looks beautiful, just absolutely gorgeous.
But more than anything, God loves admiration.
You saying God is vain?
No, not vain. Just wanting to share a good thing. I think it pisses God off if you walk by the color purple in a field and don't notice it.
Well, you saying it just want to be loved like it say in the Bible?
Yeah, Celie. Everything want to be loved.
I'm trying to think of anything that's objectively wrong with it. The only thing really keeping me from giving it a perfect rating is the fact that it's so long and heavy that it's not a movie I'll be watching over and over. I appreciate the story in this film. Most movies about race are set right before or during the Civil War or during the Civil Rights Movement. This is set in the early 20th century, while racism was still really strong. But it isn't just about race, it's also about gender equality issues. There really was nothing worse than being a poor black woman in those days. Can we just talk about how controversial this movie was before it came out? Like, think about it. The trials and tribulations of a young African American woman in the early 20th century being directed by a white male who had only done light summer blockbusters before. This had a lot to prove, and thankfully Spielberg managed to do it. This could have easily sunk his career, but through his pure talent, he made a smart, tasteful, well-done, charming period piece that showed the life of the character. I haven't read the book, so I don't know how well it follows it, but I really like the movie. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's one of my favorites of his Oscar movies, but maybe not as much as the next one. We'll talk about that tomorrow. See you then.